Fidget spinners. So I lost about $8,000 on fidget spinners, and I want to explain how and why that happened. So I had, at this point, two very successful products selling on Amazon that were making a bunch of dough. So um, I was still looking, continuing to find more products, obviously, because that's the smart thing to do. And so I was doing product research, looking at data, and I came across some numbers in the data that were, frankly, insane. And so I looked into it, studied it out, and I obviously knew that this was a trend. It was one of two things. It was either just a trend that was going to come and go, or it was a new emerging market. I personally thought it was probably just more of a trend. I didn't really look at it as like an emerging market. Now, the better, safer way to go about doing product research and finding product to sell on Amazon is not to chase trends. It's actually to chase very stable products. So typically what you want to do when you're doing product research on Amazon is you want to find a product with a good sales history. You want to see a product that's been on Amazon for 3 months, 6 months, 2 years, and you want to see that it's been selling consistently across that amount of time. And then because the idea behind that is that it means it's a stable product, that if it's been around for that long, it's likely to be around for longer. And that's kind of like a safer, safer and more assured way of continued sales. But when I saw the fidget spinners, the data was just incredible. There was extremely high demand, like crazy demand. There was no competition, like nobody that was selling. There were very few people selling it. The few people selling it had really high demand, and then the people that were selling it and getting a ton of sales had like no reviews. And the profit margins were extremely high. When I first saw them and when I first started selling them, the price point on them was like $24.99, and the cost per unit was like $3 or $4, shipping included. And so everything was looking great except for the fact that this was a trend. It didn't have sales history showing me that this is a consistently stable product. But I didn't not know that. I knew all of that. But I decided that I wanted to try and chase this trend. I had two products selling successful that were pretty stable products. And so and this demand and the margins, everything was just crazy. So I thought, all right, let's try this out. If it doesn't work out, I'm sure I'll learn some good stuff through it. But I wanted to try it. And so I placed an order. And I placed a big order. I decided to create two different brands of fidget spinners and to put them on Amazon. And so I bought inventory to back both of those brands, and I didn't want to send in just a test order. I wanted to just send in all the inventory and have it there so I could just keep selling and selling and selling. So I spent about $8,000 on fidget spinners. Yeah, so that's about 2,000 units. So I went in. I bought a lot of fidget spinners. And at first it was amazing, like incredible, exactly it was doing exactly what the data said it would. Extremely high demand with 0 reviews, just started getting sales. Didn't have to get a single review. Sales just started happening as soon as inventory hit the warehouse and it went live. And the margins were amazing. Like I said, I was selling it for $24.99. They cost me $3 or $4 a unit. Amazon fees were like $3 or $4, so 25 minus $8 or so, that's like a $15 profit margin, which is super good on such an inexpensive product. And also and the PPC, like I said, I didn't have to run PPC or get reviews to start getting sales. There was just so much demand, so many people searching already for fidget spinners, that with 0 reviews, they were just like, all right, I'll buy it. But then when I turned on PPC, obviously the PPC also worked extremely well and was extremely profitable. So boom, super strong start, $15 profit margin, got a couple thousand of them in stock. Things are looking really good. But then what happened is everybody else who's doing product research, trying to find products to sell on Amazon, also starts to see the same kind of data. And also part of that was, I don't know if people really do a ton of research there now as much, I don't know, but fidget spinners made it to the bestseller section. So everybody who was searching through the bestseller section to find like the hot products all of them were seeing fidget spinners. And because fidget spinners were blowing up so much, it was that fidget spinners were in like every category also. So they were literally just popping up everywhere on Amazon. So what happened is all these sellers start seeing really high demand, and so everybody with good profit margins, so everybody goes, fidget spinners, I'm going to buy them and start selling them on Amazon. And tons and tons and tons and tons of sellers created listings, sent inventory to Amazon's warehouses, and started selling fidget spinners. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that I have experienced, and that like I just don't like when this happens, and I don't do this. I did at the very beginning when I was new to selling on Amazon, but I haven't for a long time. When people compete on price, right? And so when there's a $25 sale price point, retail price, and people are pulling $15 margins, well, it's easy to compete on pricing then because you have a $15 margin you can play with. So people started dropping price to compete to get more sales, dropping price, until this average $24.99 price point when I started selling it was now at like $10. And then give it a little bit more time, it dropped to like $5. And then some of them dropped to $3. And then at that point, by that point, there were so many sellers and there was such a big pricing war going on that everybody had just dropped price to the point where no one's making any money, and now everybody's stuck with inventory that they have to try and get out of Amazon's warehouses. How do you try and move inventory out of Amazon's warehouses? You try and drop price to get it to sell through. So what happened is this beautiful, strong, healthy, very lucrative product market on Amazon just got priced down to where almost you can't, to where no one can make a profit, except a lot the Chinese sellers still could. Because what happens is they make these fidget spinners for probably like 40 cents, maybe a little more, maybe quite a bit less. But they would sell them to American sellers like myself for $3 or $4 a unit. So they're making, $3 or $4 selling them to me off of each unit, and then I'm making 15 selling a pop selling them on Amazon. But then the pricing war starts, and what happens is now people are selling fidget spinners for $3 to $5 on Amazon. And if you go look right now, you'll see people are still selling them at that price point. And so the Chinese sellers actually became the only ones that were able to remain profitable because they could make them for 50, 80 cents, right? And sell them for $3, $4, $5 and still pull out a profit, even though that profit was maybe $1, $2, or $3. But if you're moving 2, 3, 4, 6,000 units every month, that adds up to $10,000 of profit. So still makes a ton of sense to them, but to us that have to buy them at $3 or $4 a pop and sell them at $4 or $5 a pop, that doesn't work. And so that's what happened to the market. And so I got stuck with a bunch of inventory in Amazon's warehouses that I couldn't get through, and I couldn't really, I just couldn't get through it because of that pricing war, and like I couldn't get through it through dropping price. So what I ended up doing was just removing it and sending it back to myself, which costs more money. So not only did I have problems, I know a lot of other sellers, almost all the other sellers had same types of problems, but Amazon itself was also having problems with their warehouses because so many sellers started selling fidget spinners and sending inventory for fidget spinners to their warehouses. And then this whole pricing thing happened, and now nobody can move their inventory out of Amazon's warehouses. So Amazon's stuck with tons and tons and tons of fidget spinners just sitting in their warehouses. So they came out with this rules and regulations or whatever requirements for if you're selling fidget spinners. They said if you're selling fidget spinners, you have to meet this list of requirements, and it was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 different requirements that you had to meet, and they were pretty strict. Like, it was very obvious that what they were doing was creating requirements that basically nobody could meet, because they said if you couldn't meet them, you had to remove the inventory from the warehouse, or they would. So Amazon basically just came up with a way to create a bunch of requirements that would force most fidget spinner sellers to remove their product from the warehouses because they weren't going to be able to meet the requirements, so therefore they could no longer sell fidget spinners on Amazon. And that's how Amazon cleared fidget spinners out of their warehouses. So that's what I did. Like I said, I had to just remove all that inventory, and now I've got thousands of fidget spinners, like 8 Gs in the hole. And so what did I do with the fidget spinners? I just gave them away. I gave them to like friends, family, like literally everybody I could. Friends, family, school classrooms, which was cool. I mean, they were such a craze that people were stoked to get them for free. But yeah, that's how I lost like 8 Gs on fidget spinners. So I didn't just want to make a video to tell the world that I lost $8,000 trying to sell fidget spinners on Amazon. I wanted to make this video to get to like what are the lessons learned. And so the lessons learned are, and this I didn't really learn, I knew this one beforehand, but chasing trends can be difficult. It's a trend. It's not gonna last. It's gonna die out. It could be a huge spike and be gone the next day. But I knew that going into it. Like I said, I wanted to try and chase the trend and to see how it goes. And because the data was so good on it so early on. The biggest lesson that I learned out of it is not to compete on price. There's better ways to compete, because what happens if you start competing on pricing, then everybody just drops, and you're not making it more difficult for other sellers or for yourself, but what's actually happening is you're ruining the product market. When you come into Amazon and your competitive strategy is to just drop price, then not that everybody else has to, but the common reaction to that from your competitors on Amazon is probably going to be for them to try and drop their price too. So if people come in and start dropping price, well, you're just messing up the market for yourself and everybody else. If you can come in and compete in better ways, like maybe a better fidget spinner or packs of fidget spinners, or I don't know, whatever it may be, a fidget spinner and a fidget cube, and people did those things, but even those were crazy as well. But like competing not on price, competing in other areas is healthier for the product market. If you come in and you just start competing and dropping price, you're just screwing things up for yourself and others. You're messing with the product market. Like if all sellers could collectively be like, hey, let's make this the lowest price point and we can only compete above it. Like, not that that's ever going to happen, but that would be a way to maintain like healthy profit margins inside of our product market. So anyways, and then also it was really interesting to see how the Chinese were able to navigate all of that. They were able to navigate it great, right? Like even if, like I said, even if they were making a $1 profit, $2 profit on every unit sold, the demand was so crazy that there was enough volume for them for $1, $2 profit margin to end up being thousands of dollars of profit in just a month. So anyways, hope that was kind of insightful for you, is really what I wanted this video to be. Maybe a little bit entertaining, talking about fidget spinners and talking about losing thousands of dollars. But yeah, main takeaways, chasing trends, yes, it's true. That's tricky. The smarter, safer, more stable way is to find products that have a proven sales history. And then also I'm not a fan of competing on price. I don't like the idea of beating out your competitors just by selling at a lower price. I'd rather see people beat out competitors with a better product or a better bundle or better PPC, that sort of thing, so that way the product market and all the sellers in it, everybody can maintain healthy profit margins.